Welcome back. We got my guy, Greg Panelli, all right, for QB Monday, and we're on here to talk all things quarterback position. You see, when he comes on, we change the layover and everything, man. We get it going. All right, 49ers win. Jimmy Garoppolo has a big game, looking at the statistics. Justin Fields had some explosive plays. He did some really cool things. And Mac Jones got a win against the Chargers. So before we get into the 49ers thing, I see the chat going crazy about Mac Jones right now. I mean, some people are saying that he's a game manager. Some people are saying that he's a steal at 3. Some people are saying that 49ers stupid to pass on him. What are kind of your thoughts just on what were your thoughts on Mac Jones heading into? First of all, let me ask you this question. Where did you have Mac Jones ranked? Now, again, for those of you who are new to the channel, and again, if you're new, make sure you guys make sure you guys subscribe if you're just now finding this. Greg Panelli trains quarterbacks all throughout California. The best quarterback trainer I know, and I'm not just saying that because I played with him at Modesto Junior College. All right, trains NFL guys. You see him with the Josh Allen jersey on in the little picture over there, wherever it's at. He trained Josh Allen and other NFL guys. Where did you? I talked to you a little bit about quarterbacks in the offseason. Where'd you have Mac Jones ranked?
I think looking back, I had him 4 after Trey Lance. I think so, if I remember correctly. So I had, obviously, I said Trevor Lawrence 1A, 1B with Wilson, with Zach Wilson, and then I put Trey Lance in there at 2, but realistically 4 out of all of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what were your thoughts just on if I were to say give a scouting report on Mac Jones, what was kind of your scouting report on him coming out?
I think that he was more impressive than a lot of people gave him credit for, because I think people like to give him that game, the game manager, I guess tag coming out, and it's going to happen with Alabama when you got the freak athletes that you get to throw to every play, and you got every 5-star in the country that's going there. It's like just manage it and don't screw it up type of thing, and that's kind of what we've seen out of Alabama quarterbacks. Because look at the history of Alabama quarterbacks: do great in college, go to the NFL. You don't hear about them after the first couple of years of the NFL, right? Or after the first year, whatever it may be. And so some of those guys have been put in good positions. I think it's funny that, or I think it's ironic that you look at Bill Belichick and Nick Saban, and I don't know if you remember that HBO special. It was like The Art of Coaching or whatever that coaching show was, how it showed Saban and Belichick are good buddies. So most of those Alabama quarterbacks haven't necessarily gone to a team that was established, or haven't not necessarily played on a team with outstanding coaching from an NFL perspective, right? And now you put Mac Jones on the Patriots with a team that went and got a ton of talent in the offseason and spent a lot of money in the offseason to bring talent there. And you throw him into the mix with solid coaching, and you kind of see what he's doing now. So also, a lot of people say game manager. Like, there's the pictures online of him being like the out of shape, like bigger type of quarterback or whatever. Maybe, I guess, kind of looking like myself. That was probably myself back in the day. That's how I looked. But
now you're like this just sexy hunk, right? Now you got abs and stuff. You're posting pictures on Instagram with your shirt off and stuff. I'm like, man, who is this guy?
Man, hey, that was all for the facility right there. That was for the facility and the classes. I'll do it for yours one day. All right, Croc?
All right, yeah.
But he got that stigma that
somebody said he has pepperoni nipples. But go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm not even touching base. That is way out of that. You're gonna have to bring somebody else for that conversation. I'm not even going into that one. But he doesn't look like the twitchy, super athletic type of quarterback. And typically when that happens, in the day and age we're in, when you don't get the NFL, or like you don't get that twitchy looking dude or the guy that's going to be running all the time, the mobile type of quarterback, they usually get tagged as like a game manager, right? Because they don't make as many plays with their legs. Now, I think arm talent-wise, and I remember you talking about it when we started throwing the deep ball. You had said that he could throw the deep ball. It wasn't bad, but he could throw the deep ball, and I don't think a lot of people gave him credit for it.
So I gave him credit for it, but a lot of people didn't. All right, what you say? Because everybody thinks I hate Mac Jones.
No, I remember you giving him credit for it because there again, it was like almost like the Jimmy Garoppolo, especially from a Niners perspective. I think from some of the fans that it was like, okay, if we're going to go get Mac Jones, you're going to get another Jimmy Garoppolo. You're just going to get another game manager, and I do. I think he can throw the deep ball. I think that he's got a little bit more pop on the ball than Jimmy. But it's a very similar style of play. Now, again, look at where Jimmy came from. Jimmy came from the Patriots. He was groomed in the Patriots offense. So it's probably going to look a little bit similar, especially in the NFL. But, overall.
Real quick, just to kind of touch on you saying that it could possibly look similar. And just because it looks similar, and this is for the people out there watching, just because Mac Jones may look similar to Jimmy Garoppolo or have a similar skill set does not mean that Mac Jones can't or isn't a better version of Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Or Kirk Cousins, who kind of gets lumped into that whole thing. But go ahead.
But, yeah, and I will say, obviously that was a big win. Getting the Chargers is a big win. The defense created, some havoc for Herbert. I know they got a couple key interceptions, obviously, a couple key turnovers.
1 pick-6 at the end of the game. Yeah.
Right. So they're ready to rock and roll, and I still think it's just we're in the overreaction. Not the overreaction era, but we're in the overreaction era. Like everybody loves to overreact about everything, and I think that with what Mac Jones is doing, I wouldn't say okay, yeah, he's going to be the guy. He's going to be the next Tom Brady there in Boston, but I think that what he's bringing right now with the offense given, it's perfect for them because you would want a quarterback right now to be a game manager at the age he's at and the level he's at being a rookie in the NFL, because you go on the flip side where it seems to be the rookies that come out are like, look at Zach Wilson, look at Trevor Lawrence. You got to be the saving grace. You don't get the opportunity to be the game manager because you got to make all these damn plays because the rest of the team's trash. And so, sorry to the Jets, sorry to the Jaguars, but it's just the truth. And so it's good for the quarterback development, I think, when you're in a position, again, like Mac Jones or a guy like Trey Lance, where there's talent around you, and it's basically operate with the talent around you and just try and eliminate the screw-ups, and everybody else will kind of take care of themselves, and the coaches will put you in a good position to succeed. And I think that's what we're seeing right now, and I think he's doing well with that. Obviously, going into next year and the year after, I'm not going to jump too far ahead, but that's when I think the more of the playbook, again, will be thrown at him, and we'll get to see him let loose a little bit more. But for what he's given right now, I think he's doing a pretty good job. Whether it's a game manager or not, I think, I don't think you can knock him for being a game manager 8 weeks into the season as a rookie quarterback in the NFL.
Especially when the other guys aren't managing games necessarily well for different reasons, like you said, right? So when you look at that, and I've seen some people say, he looks the best. Can you talk about that, where there are a lot of people saying, well, Mac Jones looks the best out of all the rookies? What would be kind of your response to that as far as what you're expecting from him and other guys and their situations?
I think Mac Jones, again, it's hard to compare because Mac Jones looks the best out of all the rookies. On the flip side, I think Mac Jones is on the best team out of all the rookie quarterbacks. Now, I'm not saying that about Trey Lance. I'm talking about the current guys that are starting week to week right now or playing week to week right now. I think Mac Jones got placed on the best team out of all those guys, obviously removing Trey Lance. I think the Niners have the potential, obviously, or the Niners are a good team when everybody's healthy and when things are going right. There's no doubt. But I think with the other dudes compared to Mac Jones, I think that Mac Jones got into the best situation because, even though the Patriots didn't do the hottest last year with Cam Newton, the team was still, pretty well put together. But then this offseason, they went and got a ton of talent, like we mentioned, and spent a lot of money to get some dudes out there. So I think that overall, with the coaching, the play calling, et cetera, that Mac Jones is in a really good spot to succeed right now. And there's not as much pressure, like I said, as a Justin Fields, where the Bears have struggled a little bit, or the Jets or the Jaguars that just are like riding the shoulders of their quarterbacks, or the rookie quarterbacks that have been there for, 7 games or 8 games now.
All right, real quick, we got a contribution from our guard, Gabriel. Kyle Theory is not all experience is good experience. Really, Kyle, Justin Fields is getting better each week. That TD run was nice. Fields and Lance will be the best QBs out of this class. And appreciate the contribution. What he's kind of talking about is Kyle Shanahan came out and basically was like, I don't want to throw a guy out there just to throw a guy out there. If I don't, basically, he doesn't want to potentially ruin a guy. He doesn't think that throwing him out there just because is good because, oh, well, he's getting experience. He's learning. He's taking his lumps. It's like Kyle's thinking like, well, we don't have to do that with him. And I don't think that is necessarily, it can be good, but it doesn't mean that it's good. What are kind of your thoughts on that?
No, and I have agreed with it. We've talked about that, and we've talked about multiple guys saying that. I agree with that. I don't think that if you got a guy, obviously, like Jimmy, that's capable, that can lead the team, that can put points on the board, that can lead that offense, and has been in, obviously, that offense, and knows what you guys, everybody knows what we're getting with that offense, and has seen a team go to the Super Bowl with Jimmy leading him. But yeah, I don't think you need to. I didn't want him to rush Trey Lance. Again, the kid is still young. He played 17 games in college, right? So he's still young in the football world. To go throw him into the NFL in the first 8 weeks. Now, obviously, we've seen the package deal. We saw the Arizona Cardinals stuff, or the Arizona Cardinals game, and now you got Jimmy healthy again. But I wouldn't mind the package stuff just to get him experience. But also, I still don't think that you need to throw them into the fire because, yeah, you could hurt somebody's development. You could ruin maybe their confidence or, I think that you got to do enough to get him prepared. And I think Kyle will do that given the fact that Kyle's done pretty well with quarterbacks or rookie quarterbacks going back to, obviously, Washington. But when you're getting what you got yesterday from Jimmy G, right there, and we'll touch obviously on that. I don't think you need to rush Trey Lance into there or throwing him into the fire, especially when the team around him is not completely healthy.
All right, real quick, we'll get into more of the, your thoughts on the game yesterday, but we have a question here that I want you to ask. I think I saw some people talking about it. Can you ask Greg, when does arm strength peak? At what age? Essentially what he's asking is, can you continuously improve your arm strength, or is it something where it kind of is what it is? I would say that I don't know when it peaks, but I know the arm strength I see from Trey Lance, what he was at 19 years old, as opposed to Trey Lance at 21, I feel like his arm has gotten a lot stronger. What do you think, when it comes to arm strength? And is this something like speed? Because I know with me, I wasn't the fastest kid when I was, younger in high school. I gradually got faster, and then, getting to the NFL, like I was fast enough, but I was never like a blazer. But I just kind of gradually each way kind of got a little bit faster. Is arm strength something like that where you do see some kids that start off with just big arms and their arm is just bigger than other guys and they're just able to continually kind of improve on that?
Yeah, I think you can. I mean, if you look at a guy like yourself, Croc, where your arm strength probably peaked when you were 12 or 13, and it stayed the same since then.
You see, I got a big arm, man. Stop playing with me, man. Don't make me have to go out there and throw 60 yards in the air again. But go ahead.
No, I messed it. It is. It's funny, and I'll use myself as an example, right? So because I do, obviously I train quarterbacks from a young age to the NFL guys, and you see kids around, sophomores or juniors in high school where you think they got a pretty good arm, right? And they continue to work at it and continue to build the smaller muscles around the shoulders and continue to get their feet right. Because obviously a lot of it isn't just arm talent. Like if you have an arm, we get it, right? Like, and the arm isn't necessarily everything. A lot of it starts at your feet. And I've used Josh as a prime example, where huge arm, always tried to use his arm. The first or in college and the first year in the NFL, and then he figured out his feet. And then the arm looks even more lively because he's utilizing his feet right, but he's becoming more accurate in doing so. But as far as just the arm talent, I remember when I graduated high school, I was 17 years old when I graduated. Going into my second year of JC, I felt like my arm was as strong as it's ever been. And that was 2 years there after high school. So I was, 19, 20 going to Eastern Washington. I felt really good with the arm. And then, even now where I throw the ball all the time, I don't throw it, obviously, or I didn't throw it for a couple of years. But I feel like I can still chuck it, but I definitely feel like my arm was way more lively when I was 21, 22, as compared to now. But for a guy who's doing it for a living, I think that it would peak around, 22, 23, 24, something like that, obviously. With those guys that are doing like Mahomes and Josh, I would say that those guys are at their peak as far as arm talent goes. But another thing is a lot of times you'll see guys in the NFL, especially with big arms, they'll use their arm talent, but not all the time do they have to use their arm talent. So like the Trey Lance thing, we were talking about it at the beginning of the year with preseason. Trey Lance was firing everything. Like when he throws the ball, it's coming hot. And I feel like he's giving it all, everything that he's got. Now, and once he reels it back a little bit and he's a little bit quicker with his feet, he's seeing coverages a little bit easier, play recognition, having a better understanding of offense, he won't have to do that stuff because he'll anticipate where the routes are a little bit sooner, or he'll see them a little bit sooner. But just to answer that question, I would say probably where Trey Lance is at up to about 25 years old. And then it might be stagnant for a while, and then you'll start to see it decline a little bit. But we've seen plenty of guys carry huge arm strength for the duration of their careers in the NFL, and then it starts dropping off. You look at Tom Brady throwing the ball. Tom Brady still has the ball popping off his hand. I wouldn't say that Tom Brady is a big, strong-arm quarterback, but it's plenty, obviously, and it's been plenty, and he still spins the hell out of the ball.
All right. We got when you watch Trey Lance and you watch him against Arizona, or even just his games in the preseason, can you see moments where you feel like he's maybe processing the game right from a mental standpoint, or maybe does it look like the game is too big for him, or does it look like this game isn't too big for him? He looks good from a mental standpoint.
I think he's doing all right. For what we saw, I think he's done all right with it so far. Again, I'll touch on this with the offense and the way it was. Like in preseason, I thought he did all right. I think he looked good. And I think when the Niners offense, again, when we get the offense that we saw yesterday, it will make the quarterbacks look better. Again, from a game manager perspective, it's going to make the quarterbacks look better because it eliminates a lot of the other, like, basically full scan, pure progression reads from one side of the field all the way to the backside. It's more West Coast-ish, quick game reads, quicker reads, one-man reads, or one area reads, and that will help him out. And I think that's what they've done with Jimmy. And obviously, which was funny yesterday, you watch the game, it's like the first three plays, they come out in shotgun. So maybe Shanahan's taking a listen to the podcast and heard me call him out about the BS shotgun offense he was running, but I doubt it. But he comes out in shotgun yesterday for the first three plays, and then they get a completion, and boom, they go right under center. So, but you watch yesterday, how many times you see Jimmy Garoppolo throw across the middle, like on the first or second read. There might be a number two defender read where number two goes inside, and you got a fender out behind him, or number two jumps outside, boom, he's popping it in the middle right now. So it's like it helps build the confidence. But again, when you see these guys get back into the third and long type of downs, but those are the key downs, third down, and they actually have to drop back, full scan of the field or whatever it may be. That's when your mental game gets a little bit more tested, or when protect guys are stepping up and showing exotic coverages. Like the Bears played a lot of base zone defense yesterday. They didn't get on top of Jimmy Garoppolo a ton. I don't think. Obviously, I'm not a defensive coordinator, but I don't think that's the way to play Jimmy Garoppolo on defense. I think is when you give him fits is when you're starting to bring pressure. You're showing a little exotic stuff and you're bringing pressure off the edge, or dropping guys on the backside with zone blitzes and things like that. I think that's where you get Jimmy Garoppolo. And the Bears didn't even do that yesterday, and giving him opportunities to throw. In that 2-hole position or right across the middle in the 3-hole,
Right.
whatever it may be. And if you do that with Jimmy, we've seen it over the years. If you do that with Jimmy and you let him do that, he'll end up picking you apart, because that's kind of Jimmy's game. And
Right.
I think that would help Trey Lance's development if you gave him obviously that. But I think overall with Trey, I think he's an intelligent dude, and I think that's why the Niners went after him, because I'm almost positive he was one of the top scoring quarterbacks top quarterbacks from a mental perspective. And I'm not going to even say the Wonderlic test or whatever it may be, but I think that Shanahan liked how he did come out and talk about football and knew football from a mental standpoint. But he was in a pro-style offense in college, and not with the check with me stuff on the sidelines where the play's called and the quarterback
Right.
looks to the sideline and then comes back and the coach kind of makes the calls for him. Trey Lance wasn't necessarily doing that. It was more throwing into the fire, doing a pro-style offense at North Dakota State. So I think from that perspective, he was the most well-prepared coming out of college.